foliage into the water and leave it for 2 weeks, then you get the same type of water-soaked lesions, which again you can find this Phytophora species. This is in natural settings. There is no disease, no nothing actually. You don't see anything unless you do something like this. So they can be pathogen if, let's say, one leaf drops, or if the foliage, someone really dips it in water, you see that those organisms that exist in that stream can cause this type of damage in natural settings. The pathogen that we have here, the Phytophora species, a new species, it is native most likely to that area, and it can cause some sort of damage. And we have found so many other species in stream, but we don't know what really they are doing. And Dimitra is actually studying Phytophora in streams to see what type of species exist, what they do, and so on. So, and this is one of the reasons why we came here, which we want to look at the tropical areas, basically natural ecosystems, to see what Phytophora species exist. So this is a picture of in West Virginia, in the U.S., and of course, when you look to a forest, looks beautiful. Where to find it, you know? And it is microscopic organism, and there is no disease. So how do you find the organism in this case? It is really a game, actually. So I don't know whether you know this Waldo. Try to find Waldo between all this mix. It is almost the same with looking for pathogens, but if you know the pathogens very well, you can try to find it, or if you can associate it with some sort of symptoms or some sort of techniques that you apply, then you can pinpoint and see where it is. And I don't know where Waldo is in this case. So, and I'm going to give you the example for cinnamomite, and this actually supports some of our hypotheses, ideas, why we are looking for tropical ecosystems. So Phytophora cinnamomite, again, this is the pathogen that we very frequently found in the U.S., and it is causing a huge damage around the world. I showed you some pictures from Australia. This is where in Perth it causes huge damage on eucalyptus and native plants. This is also a Mediterranean type climate. Here in Central Europe, in Spain, in Portugal, it is involved in oak decline and cork oak decline, holm oak decline. You know, in western part of U.S. also it causes a number of diseases there too. But what is your guess? Where did it originate? I mean, you would think, okay, maybe because it is causing the disease here in this Mediterranean type of climate, possibly the pathogen must be native to some of these areas. Anyone knows where this can be? Any idea which country this?
The Polynesia. This is,
okay.
Yeah, this is not in South America. This is the Madagascar. No, the Polynesia, Madagascar, all that area.
Okay.
You know, Southwest Pacific, maybe.
Alright, you're getting there. Here's one of the pictures. Maybe it will remind you of the natives. And like these plants here, this is very fairly commonly planted in the Mediterranean part of Europe. In Europe, you will find those things. Some bananas and some plants.
Yeah, we got a lot of that.
Yeah, and also here in tropics too. It's native, but it is also planted in US or in Europe. So early settlers, the botanists and so on, they pick up so many plants going to those very remote areas. And this was Papua New Guinea actually. So and when people went to that area, again, no symptoms, no nothing, and when we surveyed, they found Phytophora cinnamomite. So it was probably introduced from this tropical area. This blue area is basically more or less a tropical regions. So it did escape from this area to a temperate forest, and that's where it was able to establish. There is maybe only few organisms that can do that, but this was one of them that were able to do the establishments, basically. And we also looked for ramorum in this case, and we were thinking, oh, rhododendrons, because we found it first on rhododendron, and then here is the area where we found it. In Europe, we have found it too, but it is mostly associated with rhododendrons or shrubs and so on. And we thought, okay, maybe because rhododendrons are mostly affected, we go to the origin of rhododendron, which is mostly China. You go to the Yunnan region in this area, subtropical area, then you will find about 200 species of rhododendron in one mountain. Anyway, we thought maybe it is the host, and we can link it that way, and we can find the origin of this pathogen. So we went there, of course, and here's the area again in China. This probably, here's the rhododendron, here's the oaks, and here are the laurels, and the climate fits very well. Of course, we couldn't find it, and here's one of our colleagues doing a stream baiting, which we will do this time too, trying to find Phytophora ramorum in this very remote areas, and you don't see any symptom, no disease, and so on. You couldn't find it in this case, but it can mislead you, and that is the problem actually. So you never know how organisms will act. So unless you see a problem showing up, so you take that organism from Peru to U.S., it may not do anything, even though you think it's it's a Phytophora that can do some damage. But at the same time, it can be similar to ramorum in West Coast. It can cause huge damage too. So the behavior of organisms is very difficult to predict, and the most difficult thing that is limiting our efforts. But if we really study all those organisms and have a much better idea, then we can at least eliminate it before it really spreads. So here's the ramorum case. Here's in the West Coast. It is causing a forest decline. And this is from Europe. It is mainly causing diseases on rhododendron. So in West Coast, in California and so on, it is a huge forest disease. In Europe, it is ornamental. It's the same organism, but it behaves differently. And the weather conditions exist in both environments too. So the behavior of organism is very difficult to predict, and it may be different when you look at them. This is a very recent case in Chile, just reported 2 years. Basically, the species has just been described. It's a Phytophora pinifolia, and this is Pinus radiata, or Monterey pine. And it's a huge problem in Chile right now. And no one knows where the pathogen came from, again. The same story, huge problem, exotic plant in this case, but it is a Phytophora species. And the first time a Phytophora is attacking conifers. So you do have plantations here too. Basically, pines are not native, so you plant all those exotic pines like the Monterey pine. But one of the organisms in your environment may be a problem on that particular exotic plant. You will never know that, but in the Chilean case, it just showed up. How did that happen? Of course, the human trade, international trade, that is very important, and things are moving so fast. And you can easily hypothesize that something from the tropics moved to that area where they have this huge epidemic on pine. Or it can be where the pine has originated, which is the California, the Monterey area. That's where the origin of the pine is. So you can look here or here. So they have two options certainly. But it is very difficult to find out where it is unless you do a systematic survey. And plant trade has been really, really big during the last 150 years or 200 years period. Today we are introducing more and more new plant varieties, new plants that look fancy.